Hi guys, it's Mark Zicree, Mr. Sci-Fi, also known as Mark Zicree of Space Command, and today we're going to talk about one of my very favorite subjects, and we'll tell you all about it. Lots is going on: Space Command, Showrunners Network, all sorts of stuff. It's really a phenomenal time to be in this game of creating wonders. But I'm going to be talking. I'm going to be doing a few videos about the show that really turned me into who I am today, and that's the original Star Trek, Kirk, Spock, McCoy. And from the beginning, it debuted when I was 10. I watched every episode, first run, and just loved the show and have ever since. And it was really a game changer. It was unlike anything that had gone before. It was a phenomenal show, and really dropped you in the deep end of its universe. And Gene Roddenberry hired designers who really understood that they were tasked with creating things that no one had ever seen before and having a different design aesthetic than that which had gone before. And so, for instance, he hired Wah Ming Chang, who to design the tricorder and I believe the phaser as well, and so forth. And just everything from the Enterprise on down was just spectacularly designed, and yet there's a very fascinating evolution of those items. Now, Roddenberry originally he was designing all of these things, he was approving all of these designs with the idea of marketing them as products and as toys. And Star Trek was not a huge ratings hit from the beginning, and so they didn't get many licenses for toys and other products during the run of the show. And it took a while even after that for it to really pick up steam. And so the toys that were released either were kind of approximations of what the show had, or not even that. And a great example of an early product is this is a Star Trek coloring book from 1975. The show ran from 66 to 69. This is 75, sort of the dark years of Star Trek, before Star Trek the Motion Picture in 79, or later Star Trek The Next Generation. But you can see the artist, he got Kirk right, in terms of the color of the uniform, all of that. Spock's a little bit kind of, hunky for one thing. But and if you know about slash fiction, which has fan fiction that has Kirk and Spock as gay lovers, then this could easily be an illustration from that. But no, this is an officially licensed product. The Star Trek coloring book. Spock has the wrong color uniform, so he's a red shirt, so he should probably get killed in this coloring book. And also you notice that the background details, the foreground details, have very little to do with the Enterprise. There's this big porthole window and so forth. It's just really clear that the guy who drew this was not your purest Star Trek fan that ever came down the pike. But this is kind of typical. And by the way, Pike was, of course, the first captain of the Enterprise. Interestingly enough, I just got a copy of the original script of Star Trek, The Cage, the first pilot. Now, for those who don't know, Star Trek's first pilot was filmed in 1964. Originally, the captain was going to be named Captain Winter. That's even before he was named Captain April, and then Captain Pike, and then Captain Kirk. He was Jim Winter in this first draft of The Cage script that I've been reading. Fascinating, amazing script. But it was then made into a pilot for CBS, starring Jeffrey Hunter as Captain Pike and Leonard Nimoy as Spock and Majel Barrett as number one. And it didn't sell the show, but it was a spectacular pilot. And then they made a second pilot for NBC that sold the show, that had Shatner in it, and they were off and running for the 79 episodes. But I wanted to take you through some of the development of some of the really great props for Star Trek. And for instance, from the beginning, they knew that they were going to have a communications device. They were going to have a ray gun. Now, Forbidden Planet is, I always talk about as one of my favorite Star Trek movies, because Forbidden Planet, of course, they had ray guns, which were very cool looking blasters, and they had a communication device, that kind of a little microphone that came up on a wire off of their belt. But in the first iteration of Star Trek, they had hand lasers, and these were very, very cool, very fun, and these were really great sound effects. And so this is what it looked like. Sort of a rather simple design, but got the job done. This was used in the first pilot, The Cage, and then it was refitted somewhat differently, a little bit differently, for Where No Man Has Gone Before, the William Shatner Star Trek pilot. And then they had the communicator in the first episode of Star Trek, The Cage, and this is what it looked like. And this is a replica, but it's a good replica. Very, very fun, very cool. And and this one doesn't make sounds, but it's just, you can see it. But then, when they did Star Trek, when the series got going, they decided they wanted better looking hand props, or at least more streamlined, cooler looking. So they came up with this. And of course, with this really cute moire pattern, and, all these buttons and lights and all this.
Yes, Captain.
So and this is actually the Star Trek Bluetooth, so I can use this with my phone to actually answer and take calls and make calls and all that stuff. And it's and this of course became a huge inspiration for cell phone design, particularly the flip phone in later decades. But this did not exist. Nothing like this existed when the show debuted, and it's fun also. It's fun, very fun to see the development of this, the iteration of this. Then they came up after the laser, the hand laser. They decided to come up with something they called the phaser. And this is, I think, my favorite science fiction design of all time, my favorite ray gun design of all time. And it's wonderful. By the way, they used Velcro on both the communicator and on the phaser so they could attach to the black pants of the actors. So they didn't even have holsters. So they wanted to be very, very futuristic, and it worked. and originally on the phaser design, they had a white handle, but that was kind of geeky looking. So ultimately, what they settled on was a darker handle. And this is actually a remote control. Normally it makes sounds, but this time I think the battery is off or something, but or dead. But this is a very, very cool design. You see this little thing lifts up. And also, they made two kinds of phasers. One was the little miniature hand phaser that could be carried on diplomatic missions and so forth that wouldn't look as threatening. And then this would fit into this grip for more power. Really a wonderful design in every way. Just absolutely terrific, and and just not to be faulted in any way. It didn't look like anything that had gone before it. Now, there is one Star Trek prop that only appeared in one episode, and I have no idea why it was only one episode, because it was a spectacular, spectacular prop. It appeared in the second Star Trek pilot, the William Shatner one, Where No Man Has Gone Before, with Sally Kellerman and Gary Lockwood, who at the same time would be appearing in 2001. So imagine that pedigree, being in the pilot of Star Trek and in 2001, in the leads in both. So in that episode, Kirk has to go after his best friend, who's mutated into a superhuman psychic monstrosity, and he has to go after him, and he goes after him with a phaser rifle. And by the way, these were called lasers, which was actually lasers existed at that time, and these were called phasers, which did not exist, but sounded cool. So he goes after him with a phaser rifle. Now, for some reason, this only appeared once, and this is a photo of the original phaser rifle. It's a gorgeous, gorgeous piece of work, a wonderful prop. But they auctioned it off recently, and I got to see the original phaser rifle. And interestingly enough, Wah Ming Cheng did not design it, unlike some of the other props on Star Trek. It was designed by a guy named Reuben Klamer, and he was only given 2 weeks to design it and build it and deliver it. 2 weeks. And it's painted with automotive paints for this great shine, and it's just amazing. And so I saw it. It's always been one of my favorite props. Here it is in the catalog from Heritage Auctions. You can see how cool it looks, and there it is in the episode. Sally Kellerman, etc. Kirk is using it, and it auctioned off for over $300,000. So a little steep. Didn't want to spend that much on it. But a few weeks later, I was at the Los Angeles Comic-Con showing some of Space Command and talking about it, and I went in the dealer's room, and there was a fellow who had made this. And this is an absolutely faithful copy of that wonderful, wonderful device. And the little viewfinder has different colors, and this thing, you can see there's these wonderful buttons, and this turns and locks into place just like the original did. And it is just so cool. It is too cool for school. And I cannot tell you how glad I am to have this wonderful, wonderful, wonderful device. And it's just wonderful. It's great. And so so this was not $300,000, but it is absolutely spectacular. And I just wanted to share it with you because, and for some reason Shatner carries it like this. He doesn't tend to use the stock, but he kind of carries it like this, and so forth. So yeah, and even as a laser pointer, so one could actually, if one was in a smoky room, it would look exactly like a phaser firing. And so I just wanted to share this with you because I love it, and I assume that you love it too. And that's the news from the front. So we're going to be talking more about Star Trek very, very soon. But for now, Mark Zicree, subscribe, ding the bell, make comment, tell 3 of your friends, because we want to crack this and get to the level of the gods. And there's lots more to come. So until next time, we will talk soon. Bye, guys.